Hi everyone, Ken Larsen here from Smart House Electric. Just want to give a tutorial here on how to install and program a 3WG2 wall timer here from Applied Digital. And so Tmax, the industry standard, and therefore it's knowing how to program one of these is a really good thing. So a lot of things is built on this very same protocol. So like if you have a Heartland bed, all the new IntelliTam timers for Ergoline pretty much have the same programming as this little guy here. So let me quickly just run through a couple of physical things here. So the way that this wall timer here comes apart, it looks like, you see there's no screws or anything. So the way you do it is that you push something in here, something skinny like a little screwdriver, and voila. You can see the frame in here, which is going to go on your two gang box, or if you buy like an enclosure, has like a little thing here saying top. So that's important that that faces up, because the distance between these points are different, and so it's going to be important, for this to face the right way. So top. And then there is an enclosure also available from Applied Digital that has the same color, same design, and so it's nice and easy to use. It's a little expensive, but many of these things like you buy from the Home Depot of enclosures for this kind of application is not super cheap either. So it's worth it to buy the $30 enclosure, I think, from Applied Digital. Um, what I want to show you is the back of this board to go through all the connections there is here. So first here on this corner, you will see that this is the power supply it's connected to, and very practically this is power right there. And what they're using now is a 9-volt DC power supply switch mode, which is a big improvement to the previous, which was way more susceptible to lead, some kind of surge getting through it. And so these drives the boards far better. It's a much better power supply in my opinion. And so the next connection here is for a wireless antenna. So you can plug your wireless antenna straight into here in order to make this wireless, and that's why it has that name G2. That's all about the wireless. And here we have the traditional RJ22 connectors for your daisy chain or backbone system to connect to your Tmax Manager Pro up front. Well, that's also what the wireless is for. But if you go wired, those are connectors you're going to be using for that. Also, if you're running what's called a master slave, meaning you're only running one machine where you have one of these at the machine, and then you have one at the front desk, or you're running one at the front desk to run a timer that already has an existing timer in it. I'm gonna get back into that. No worries. So the RJ22s, these are also called a handset cord, and the timer comes with a 50-foot cord, a satin cable, stranded wire. And the good thing about stranded wire is that it's way more durable towards if you like this, if it's being moved around a lot and that sort of thing. If you use Cat5 wire, which a lot of salons are doing, it's very easy to get your hands on Cat5 at like the Home Depot to run throughout the salon. And that's great in wall, But as what's called a patch cord, you gotta go with a stranded wire, because a stranded wire is full of a lot of little wires, so it's more flexible. And the Cat5 wire, if you do this a lot to it, it can one of the leads can break in there, one of the wires, and so you want to make your wired system so that it runs off of a wall plug. Let's say an RJ11, which is a telephone line plug with 4 leads on, just like this, and then you crimp one end of that RJ11 on one end, and then you have an RJ22 like this, which is the Tmax standard, on the other end, that you can plug, bam, into the board for communication. And there is no in and out of these two. You can communicate with this board on just one. The reason why there is two is so that you can take one of these wires from the front desk and run into the first one, and then you could take another wire and run into the next room, and so forth, bam, 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 in a daisy chain. And that's why it has two. So there is no in and out. They both do the same thing. They both do receive and transmit, as it's called in electronic terms. Next to them is the J3 contactor, and that's what turns on your tanning bed if it doesn't have its own timer, let's say an old Sonnenbrand bed. And this contactor here is being activated by this board and the timer system. That's, you send the time from, let's say, your Tmax manager, bam, it ends up here in the electronics here, and then that turns on this relay once somebody presses the start button or the delay time expires. Anyway, the time starts, this activates, and that will connect these 2 points here together and start our tanning bed. Moving up to here, external start. Okay, so if you have a start button on the bed that you want to use instead of the start button on the wall, you can do that. You just connect 2 wires to a close contact, so a button of some kind or an output. There's connect to a button or a relay with no voltage on. That's important. But a button, you can start the time from close contacting this. Lastly, this port here I have personally never used. It's for third-party interface. That means that another timer system to start this, stop and start this timer, which I cannot see why you would want, but it's an option if you have an existing timer system that exceeds the abilities of this. But I don't see why you would want this one then. But anyway, it's there. These little pins in here is for external speaker output. It has beep mode in here for halfway through the session, for flip over high pressure bed, like halfway through the session. So there's a speaker output here. You can buy that harness from ADI. Also, what I want to talk about is the chip here, and that's replaceable. You can pry this off and replace it. And why would you want to do that? Well, it can go bad, and so that will be a reason to replace it. Or max time. So this one here is a 60-minute chip max. You cannot change the max time in the parameters, and so if you want to change that, you want to put a max time of, say, 12 minutes. That is for tanning beds. This is a 60-minute. That won't do you any good. That'll be kind of unsafe to use because it is able to set for 60 minutes. And so you want to change this chip then and put a 12-minute chip on it, so you can't send any more time than that. Last is this little guy in here. This is a little inexpensive chip called a line driver. In the tanning industry, we know it as the communication chip, and that is kind of the gateway out to your network to these RJ22 connectors here, or actually all these connectors. So it is operating the communication going in and out of this board, and it works like a first line of defense. So if something were to go wrong on the network out there, this is supposed to take the hit, and is inexpensive. So what is to note about these two is that they have it's very important that they face in the right direction. The little communication chip has a little round mark at the corner, so pay attention to that. Maybe even take a photo of it, a digital photo, so that you can put the new communication chip in the exact same way as the old one was. I don't know what the consequences of turning it around, but let's not find out. The timer chip here, it has a little notch here at the top toward the capacitor, and also the socket underneath has a little notch in it. Again, I I love to take a digital photo of these. At this point, I know them inside out, but you can never be too proud to take a photo so that you can reverse what you've been doing. Rescue Your Tanning Bed, a book written to primarily salon owners, but certainly also if you own a tanning bed in your home, this can be quite advantageous to go through what your tanning bed like as an environment. That's what we're getting into in this book, as far as electricals, cooling, cleaning the machine, and why we do that, why it also has a technical effect to the equipment, troubleshooting tips, how you keep track, and logically moving forward towards a solution. All these things are things that we're getting into in this technical service and repair guide here, and thanks for watching.